In this video I'll be showing you two different bind off methods, the bind off in pattern and the tubular bind off. So I've left chapters down below if you just want to see one or the other. So if you're a knooker or a hand knitter you can skip to those. For my Sentro friend, let's get the knitting off the machine first. Right, so you finished your project and you're ready to cast off. So what you want to do is you want to cut your yarn and take it out of the yarn guide, and then you just want to throw it in the middle there, okay? Then you actually want to go past the machine. You'll see that the stitches will fall onto the pins. I would recommend you start with just putting 3 needles down to begin with, okay? And then you want to get some waste yarn on a darning needle, so you want it to have a blunt one. I find the bent end ones are actually easier to use. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're just going to pop your needle underneath the stitch and pick it up. Okay, then we're going to go and get the next one, pick it up, and that one, pick it up. I'm going to pop one needle through, and those stitches, we've now cast those off. Okay, let's do some more. You might, if you're doing it in the round, you might have to do it one at a time just to begin with. And also sometimes I find this has a little bit of a lip here, and sometimes your needle can get stuck underneath. So if you just push this down, it stops the needle getting stuck. And also when you're taking them off the machine, you want to make sure not to pull up, so you want to sort of keep it as level as possible, because if you do pull up, watch me do this one, you run the risk of this one popping off. Can you see? So you want to keep it as flat as possible so as to not yank any of the other stitches. Move along. So once you get a bit more confident, you can start doing more and more at a time. So just popping the stitches on your needle and then onto your waste yarn. And just continue doing that until you have them all off. When you get to the final needle, this one has a tendency to actually just pop off all on its own. So I always just like to just pop my finger just here to make sure that it doesn't fall off. And that's your project off the machine. And now you have these live stitches on waste yarn. Okay, so if you just continue watching, you'll be able to see the 2 ways that I take care of these live stitches. So the first technique I'm going to show you is just what I think is like a standard bind off. And it's, if you ever see it where it just says bind off, or where it says bind off in pattern, this is what you would do. So usually with your tail you would do this, but my tail isn't very long, so I'm just going to use normal yarn. Okay, so you would just knit as normal. So first stitch, I'm going to go in, wrap your yarn around the hook and knit it as normal. Then in the next stitch we're going to also go in as if to knit, wrap the yarn, but then we're actually going to pull up through 2 loops. Okay, so again, next stitch, just knit it as normal but pull up through both loops. In the stitch, up through 2, in the stitch, up through 2. Okay, so you can always do this with a bit of a larger hook, so you could go up a hook size if you did want it to be a bit more stretched. I'm just doing it with the same hook size, and we'll measure the stretch and see how much stretch we've got. So I'll just go all the way along. Okay, and then you can see you get this nice little V stitches along the top. It looks very much like a crochet chain stitch. And as this is bind off in pattern, so this was how you would do it on a stockinette fabric, but if you did have some ribs or some knits and purls, what you would do is, so this is a knit stitch, so I'm going to just knit the stitch, pull through 2. Then this is a purl stitch. You can see how it's got the bar underneath there. So what I'm going to do is just purl the stitch and pull through the second one. So we knit the stitch, and for anyone who is doing this, if it's off the knitting machine, you just need to be very careful because sometimes some of the stitches can twist. So when you are inserting your hook into the knit stitch, you want to ensure that the stitch is flat. So you can see if I was to knit this normally, it would twist it. So I'm just going to knit through the loop of the stitch and pull up. This is a purl, so we purl. Okay. I'm just going to work my way to the end and then we'll have a look at the stretch. Okay, so this is what you'll end up with. As you can see, the stockinette is trying to curl a little bit, so we've got the nice little chain stitch on the top there, and the ribbing is laying flat. We have a nice little loop across the edge, and if I tip it up, you can see the chain stitches there. So this is a really easy and super quick bind off. Let's have a look at its stretch because it's not the most stretchiest. About 8 centimeters, and then full stretch. I reckon I could probably get double. If I recall, this was 8 centimeters before, so even just with the bind off, we've sort of lost some width there, and then it was stretching to 14 before, and now it's barely making it to 10. So you can see how much lost stretch we have, so that might be why you want to go up a needle size if you're binding off this way. And we'll just check the same for the rib. For rib 1, see we're getting to about 6. And fully stretched, yeah, we get to about 12. So again, we have lost some distance there. It was at 6 before, and now it's at 5. Let's see how far it's stretching. And again, it's barely stretching. An extra 2 centimeters where we were getting double before. So it's a good bind off if you are wanting a sturdier bind off. So if it is for like under armhole stitches, or sometimes on a button band if you don't want it to sag, this is a nice bind off for that. Like I said, if you ever seen a pattern bind off in pattern, this is what they mean. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the next method I want to show you is the bind off that I do whenever I'm using ribbing and I want a lot of stretch, so on necklines or bottoms of sweaters, cuffs, that sort of thing. So let's see, this is probably about 9, maybe 10 centimeters. Let's see how much this stretches its rib, so it's going to stretch a lot. Yeah, we're stretching to about 19 centimeters. Yeah, so we're stretching about double. Okay, so as you can probably see, this cast off looks a little different. So what I've done is I've actually put all of the knit stitches on one piece of waste yarn, and all the purl stitches are on a different piece of yarn. So as you can see, all the knit stitches there are on this blue yarn, and all the knitches on this side are on this purple yarn. And effectively, this is what it looks like from the top. And what we're going to do is we're just going to Kitchener stitch these together. So it's going to be really stretchy. Okay, so we want to start with about 3 times the length of your project of waste yarn. That's what you're going to need. It does eat up quite a bit of yarn, this technique, and we're going to need a darning needle to do this. So you want a blunt needle. Okay, so this is the view from the top. And this is the first stitch, and it's the only stitch that we're ever going to work differently. So we're going to work from sort of, consider this the inside, okay, and these are the outsides, okay. So we're going to work from inside towards outside, and this is the only time we're going to do that as we go into the first stitch, okay. From now on, we always work inwards. So we want to take the next 2 stitches, okay, we're going to work in and out, okay. Be very careful and pull your tension, okay. So that's the first one done. So we've done the top side, now we work on the bottom side. And we do the same thing, so make sure the stitches are laying flat and we go into the middle and then back out. Okay, we want this to go over the middle. Okay. So we've done that, now we move on to the green side again, and we always work 2 stitches twice, just like you do in Kitchener stitch. So into the stitch we'd worked before and out. Once we get past the end, it's going to be a lot easier to make sense. Okay, so we did the top, now we do the bottom. So we go in stitch, out the next. Then back up to this side, in and out. Can you see it forming on the top there? So then back to this side, in and out. Cool. You can always flip your work if you find that easier. So now we come back to this side and we want to go into the stitch and out the next one. Okay, flip your work, then into the stitch and out. Go. If you are worried about your tension at all, what you can do, and also just to keep yourself right, is you can use the, so far I was working on a 6.5mm needle, you can just lay it across the work. Okay, that also helps to divide the stitches, but it'll also help you with tension if you are struggling. Okay, so in and out. Okay, I can pull it tight over there. I can actually see the stitches being formed, so it's easier to tension them. In and out. I can see that stitch, can you see it? So then I can actually pull it, tension it up, make sure it looks the same size as the others. Okay, again, it's easier on a non-splitty yarn. In and out, and back to this side. In and out. Okay, like I said, I can see that stitch, it looks a bit big, so I can just pull it tight over there, and then if I was to just pop my hook all the way through, you can see it's tensioning a little bit better there. Okay, so I'll just finish off the last few stitches and then we can have a look at this without the waste yarn in. Okay, and this is the end result. It's not the best one I've ever done. Never is when I'm doing it on camera. But it looks quite good. It looks quite nice from both sides. Okay, let's see how stretchy it is. So we do seem to have pulled in a little bit, so I need to work on my tension. And then let's see how much stretch we've got. We're getting to about 14, so we've got a lot more stretch than you do with the other one. but it's nice, stretchy, enough for a cuff and a neckband, I would think. Okay, so those are the bind offs that I like. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.